On August 15, 2026, Pakistan's water dispute with India reached a dangerous new level. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif called every drop entering Pakistan an absolute red line. The dispute centers on the Indus Water Treaty, the rivers feeding Pakistan's farms and economy. India says its projects remain within the treaty's framework. Pakistan sees a growing strategic threat. But India cannot simply switch off the rivers. The deeper problem may be inside Pakistan itself, a water system already under severe internal pressure. If India is not simply cutting off the rivers, how much of Pakistan's water crisis is actually being created from within? Here is the line by line transcription of the video. The next major conflict between these two nuclear armed neighbors is being defined by the rivers flowing across their borders. In a recent address, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif declared that every single drop of water entering his country is an absolute red line. He stated clearly that any disruption to the Indus River supply by India would force Pakistan to respond directly, a barely veiled threat of military retaliation. This warning highlights the extreme stakes involved. In the eyes of the Pakistani leadership, the flow of this water determines whether or not the state remains functional. Looking at the arid geography, the problem is obvious. Pakistan does not get enough natural rainfall to sustain its population. To survive, the entire country relies on an extensive network of irrigation canals, diverting water directly from the river basin out into the fields. This map shows the Indus River basin and its outflows. World Bank data shows 90% of Pakistan's agricultural production is entirely dependent on this specific irrigation system. If the water levels drop, the production of wheat, rice, and cotton crashes right along with it. The risk of widespread famine makes the political panic understandable. It establishes the mathematical reality of Pakistan's dependency, leading to this central accusation. Is India deliberately weaponizing this flow? To understand the rules, we have to look back to 1960. The World Bank helped broker the Indus Water Treaty to divide the region's rivers and prevent resource wars after partition. This diagram maps the six major rivers in the system. The treaty gave India unrestricted control over the three eastern rivers, the Ravi, Beas, and Sutlej. The remaining three massive western rivers, the Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab, were allocated to flow downstream into Pakistan. But the treaty included a specific provision. Because these western rivers flow through Indian territory first, India is legally permitted to use that water for domestic needs, agriculture, and run of the river hydroelectric projects. So, when India builds infrastructure on these rivers, they are operating entirely within the legal framework they agreed to decades ago. That baseline held until 2016. Following severe incidents of cross border terrorism, India decided to change its approach to the treaty. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stated explicitly that blood and water cannot flow together, directly linking the water sharing agreement to national security. India placed the treaty in a state of abeyance. They didn't cancel it, but rather paused active cooperation, demanding an end to terrorism before normal relations resume. Physically, this meant India accelerated the construction of large scale dams and hydro projects in Jammu and Kashmir, ensuring they utilize every legal drop of water before it crosses the border. A technical agreement about river flow was successfully converted into a geopolitical lever against terrorism. Despite the heated rhetoric from Pakistan, there is a hard physical reality at play here. India cannot simply reach over and turn off the tap. These western rivers are fed by the immense snowmelt of the Himalayan range, pushing an unstoppable volume of water downstream. To completely block that flow, India would need decades of new construction and massive storage reservoirs. If they tried to stop it today, the water would immediately back up and cause catastrophic flooding inside Indian territory. The physical mechanics make a sudden water blockade impossible. The political panic in Islamabad simply does not align with the geographic facts on the ground. If India isn't shutting off the water, we have to look inside Pakistan to find the actual source of their crisis. Data from the World Bank points to severe internal mismanagement, inefficient distribution, and poor water governance across the country. The statistics are alarming. 70% of Pakistan's domestic drinking water is drawn directly from shrinking groundwater reserves, not the river system. This chart tracks the supply over time. Half of all their agricultural water is also being pulled from these same depleting aquifers, locking the country into a rapid, unsustainable drain of its own resources. Long before India could ever build the infrastructure to cut off the rivers, Pakistan is mathematically exhausting its own water supply from within. The Prime Minister's talk of red lines and direct retaliation serves primarily as political theatre, a way to direct public anger outward rather than at domestic infrastructure failures. India continues to take methodical, lawful steps to develop its territory and capture the energy potential of the water it is legally owed. As populations explode and rivers shrink from climate pressure, it remains to be seen if a 1960 agreement can survive the realities of modern statecraft. Tension over the Indus suggests that the nature of regional security has changed. Future stability here will be decided not by territorial control but by the management of the physical resources required to sustain life.